Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to a special edition of the Don Mafia Report, Sunday at 3 p.m. EST. The Buffalo Bills played their final preseason game, last evening. And sincerest apologies for not going live the second that I saw that Shane Buchele was going to be the starting quarterback for the majority of it. I decided I was just going to be enjoying football from the comforts of my couch, tweeting every now and again. It was nice. I'm not going to lie to you. I love doing my live play-by-play reactions. However, when I have an opportunity of just being able to sit back the old-fashioned way, watch a little ball, you're damn right I take advantage of it. But have no fear. We will obviously be back for week 1 against the Baltimore Ravens and each and every single week thereafter. And now we're starting to question who in the hell is going to make this 53-man roster. The Buffalo Bills ultimately just ended up releasing the first names on the roster that have been released. And I think I have a pretty good idea of what this team is going to look like. Surprisingly enough, the one room that I am still going back and forth with is the wide receiver room. Ironically enough, that was one of the position groups that I was feeling very confident in at the very beginning of training camp. I thought that we were going to be seeing the first 5 names solidified. Now, based off of who got playing time this previous week, it's more difficult for me to actually put an understanding to it. But I'm going to give you my best 53-man roster projection, position by position. So as you're coming in, please do me a favor, hit that thumbs up sign. Let's propel this out to the YouTube algorithm, because we already know that there are a bunch of hungry Bills fans that probably want to be a part of this conversation. And subscribe to the channel as well and turn on those bell notifications. And as many of you know, I'm nosy, so roll call in the chat. What corner of the United States are you tuning in from this afternoon? And what corner of the globe are you tuning in from? Do not be shy. I am talking to the lurkers in the building as well. Where are you tuning in from? I need to give a giant shout out to our proud partner today, folks. And that just so happens to be William Mattar Law Offices. Folks, if you are ever hurt in a car, you better call William Mattar, #1 car accident attorney in the state of New York. I obviously would not wish a car accident on my worst enemy, but say, for example, that it does happen to you, it's very important to have the right person in your corner. Look no further than my friend on the screen, 844-444-4444. Folks, do me a favor, roll call in the chat. Do not be shy. Let me know where you're tuning in from, and let's get down to business. Come on, baby. We already got this. We got roster moves. Roster West Point. Jimmy is in the building. Kevin, what's going on, man? I hope you were enjoying your weekend. If you were free, hit me up on X. I will send over the StreamYard link for you if you're willing to have a good conversation with you and I. Tampa's in the building. Buffalo is in the building. Queens, New York is in the building. Upstate New York. Houston, Texas. Born in Saratoga Springs, living in Granville, New York. Pennsylvania. Republic, Missouri is in the building. Rochester, New York. We have Hawaii. Man, Dave in Denver. He's chilling. He's doing his thing. Oneida Lake, New York. California is in the building, or at least fairly close to Denver. I love to hear it. Guys, again, do not be shy. Let me know where you're tuning in from. That's including all of the lurkers and the people that just like to tune in, and that's completely fine. But the one time I'm making you speak in the chat, man, you better let me know where you're tuning in from, man. Let's talk about this. We have Inglewood, California. Reno, Nevada is in the building. Hey, Dan. Michelle from Washington, D.C. Miss Michelle, I hope you're having a wonderful Sunday afternoon. Cali, Idaho is in the building. Lowville, New York. Germany is in the building. Windsor, Ontario. Man, we are worldwide over here, man. I can tell you what. Sometimes I see somebody tuning in from New Zealand. I saw Madagascar once. I think that was a troll. But still, we have a wide diversity of Bills fans that are regularly tuning in on the show, especially for impromptu shows. Y'all know that I have my set schedule through the daily, but it's still very surprising to see how many of you like to tune in on my sporadic episodes. I think that just goes to show you how valuable it is to turn on the bell notifications if you haven't already, man. So that's one of the great things about this. We'll see if my buddy Kevin's going to join. I'm not sure if he's having a family day. I know that he's in the chat. So I'm going to go on ahead and I'm going to maybe bring him in if he has reached out to me. If not, let's just start off with the first piece of breaking news that has come out of the Buffalo Bills organization. And that just so happens to be a couple of the players that have already been released. I don't think a lot of us are surprised here. Zy Alexander, while taking a pretty quality play on special teams last week, I didn't really see a path for him to make this squad, right? Like, he was a projected like third rounder going into the draft. Several of us actually wanted him to be a Buffalo Bill come draft time, but he just didn't have enough snaps with the organization. He was clearly a camp body, somebody that could just get us through that third week of the preseason. He is gone. You have Nelson Caesar, you have Garnett Hollis Jr., Rush Reamer, Matt Sakal, and Elijah Young, and Grant DeBose, who was signed about 3 or 4 days ago. I have no idea how our training staff missed the fact that he more than likely was going to be a healthy scratch or an IR type move here. But here he is. So we have our first wave of cuts, and I could imagine we'll be getting several updates from now all the way until Tuesday. But let's take a look at this damn roster, and let's talk about a couple of things here, folks. I'm going to see if Kevo hit me up. He did. My guy, Kevin. We're going to bring Kevin on in here. We're going to have some conversations because obviously I would like to talk a little bit about the preseason matchup last night and let's see how he's doing. Man. Kevin should be joining any second, guys. Let's see what we got. We got Jacobs coming in saying, question for you. Jacob, fire away, my friend. Portland, Oregon is in the building. Jace, what's going on? I saw a statement somebody wanted me to react to. I think it was my buddy Dexy that came in. We have Scott Blakely, Illinois. Okay. We have Dexy Gaming. He's saying, Dan, call me crazy, but I'm taking KJ Hamler, Shavers, and Christian Wilkerson over Curtis and Moore if money didn't matter. Ooh, Wilkerson's a hot take. That's definitely the first that I've heard of Wilkerson. So I'll tell you what, man, like my biggest struggle is pinpointing what exactly we're going to do with the wide receiver room. And that includes who's going to be filling the role of kick returner and punt returner too. That's why I've been going back and forth of who is wide receiver 4, 5, and 6. Shavers has obviously done enough, right? Like literally when you look at somebody, when they say, I've done everything I could do, Shavers has done everything he could do to make this roster. Like it's borderline. A lot of Bills Mafia is more than likely going to riot unless he makes this team. And that's even excluding, say that he's not even so a big contributor on the special team side of things. Say that he's not, I still think that he's going to get the nod. But then the question becomes this. Does that mean that it's just going to be Shavers, Curtis Samuel, and Elijah Moore, and Chenault, who is definitely a great asset to special teams for the kick returning position? He's going to be gone, and we just end up like having a roster spot for Codrington, who would be listed as a cornerback technically. Like, would we do that? I don't know. Like, that's the one room where I do not feel wildly confident in accurately predicting, like when it is all finalized on Tuesday afternoon. But we shall see. We have El Paso, Texas is in the building, man. I absolutely love it. We have Jacob has come in saying, who is your favorite player out of all the wide receivers and DBs? Plus, I would love to meet you as a Special Olympics athlete. Would you do the polar plunge with me? So I'll tell you what, Jacob. So my favorite wide receiver on this team, it sounds like a cop-out answer, but I'm a big Khalil Shakir guy. I'm high on the trajectory of Keon Coleman. That's for sure. And then DB, again, another cop-out answer. I'm a big Benford guy, right? But I'm also clearly the president of the Jordan Hancock Club. I would love for this guy to be a starting safety next to Taylor Rapp at some point during his career, perhaps even midway through the season. And dude, you know what? I would love to meet you as well. I'm going to be up there on week 3. I know that I will be tailgating outside of the stadium. We are going to be letting people know where myself and then also TD Fins Talk, Richie, like we have a squad coming with us, like 20 plus people, like 40 plus people. So hopefully we will be able to arrange that. As far as a polar plunge, dude, I would love to do that. I live in Florida though. So say for example that it's scheduled appropriately, like when we ultimately end up having like one of those big events and say that it aligns while I'm in Buffalo, more than happy to do that, my friend. And so I have been trying to convince myself that doing cold plunges is something I need to be putting on my resume. But for sure, dude, for sure. That is awesome. We got Dwayne is coming in. Dan, think White gets cut. And do we have a new number 2 quarterback? He played awesome last night. That's a great question. For me, I don't think that Shane Buechele is QB2 material. I still think it's going to be Mitchell Trubisky as QB2. However, Shane Buechele may have done enough last night to steal the practice squad role from Mike White. For me, I could see him being like the top practice squad quarterback, and maybe we end up finding a new home for Mike White. Like he ultimately ends up getting released. But Shane Buechele did play very well last night. So you have to give credit where credit is due at the end of the day. Guys, 297 of you in here, 169 on YouTube, 173, excuse me. Do me a favor and hit that thumbs up sign, guys. What I try to do is consolidate all of the information that comes out of Bills camp to keep you guys informed as it comes out. And as you know, I love making sure that I keep the chat involved in what is going on. All right. So please do me a favor. Say, for example, that you rock with my style of content. Please do me a favor and hit that thumbs up sign. I think my buddy Kev should be coming in here in just a couple of seconds. And we're going to start chopping it up a little bit about the 53-man roster. Curtis, 2 more practice squad players and 2 draft picks for Parsons possible. It's going to be very difficult for us to afford that. Like, we could potentially make it happen, but would Brandon Beane want to make it happen, right? Just because we have the money doesn't change sort of how Beane handles a lot of these opportunities of being frugal. But Dan, I thought Shavers only had a 3% chance. LOL. Hey, listen, I did say that I reserve the right to be wrong. I reserve the right to be wrong. Okay, my friend. That's the beauty about football, right? That's why the good Lord makes us play the football games. You know what I mean? Here we are. Congratulations to Shavers. But hey, who knows? We could see a shock situation coming into it. Oh my God. We have my good friend here. Quality friend here. We have my good friend, Kevin Mazari is in the building. What is going on, Kev? How you doing here? Let me.
What's the good word?
There he is. There he is. Here, let me see. There he is. What's going on, man? How you doing?
What's the good word? Glad to be here.
Oh, man. Happy weekend. I decided to do a bit of an impromptu episode. Wanted to talk about, yeah. You know, man, I wanted to go on ahead and do an impromptu episode. I wanted to discuss some of the things that we saw last night from the preseason matchup. I wanted to talk about some of these 53-man roster moves we could be looking forward to for the next 48 hours. First off, how was your weekend, my friend? I saw you and the family went to the zoo. Was that right?
We did. Yeah, we
Nice.
checked out the zoo over here in Western New York. A pretty nice zoo. Lots of animals. My son's obsessed with it.
It's the Buffalo Zoo, right?
Rochester. So
it's the Rochester Zoo. Okay.
Yes.
Nice.
Seneca Park. We've been to both. Rochester is a little nicer.
Really?
Super cool.
Okay.
Super cool. Yeah, they had elephants from the 70s. Yeah, so pretty old elephants, but it's a great time, man. It's a good experience, and you really forget about these kind of animals and stuff. Like they just like live with us. It's crazy.
Wow. Yeah, man, most definitely. It's been a while. I grew up going to the Buffalo Zoo back when I was a kid. So, I mean, who knows, man? You know, like maybe when I have some time to kill on week 3, and
that's
I just
what it's for. That's what.
And
it's
maybe
for.
I just want to like make a stroll and just take a stroll down memory lane at the exact same time. Who knows? Maybe I'll chop it up at the Buffalo Zoo.
Not a bad idea.
No, not at all, man. Last night, dude, you know what? I was this close in the live game reacting to it, but like as soon as when I saw Shane Buechele like starting, I was just like, I'm not going to stream. And for the first time in a long time, I am just going to sit on the couch and watch football because I have very limited opportunities of doing that. And I loved what I saw, man. Listen, I really, really did. I am not sure if Cole Bishop did enough last night to at least give you a bit more optimism in him potentially taking the starting role on week 1. But I think we can both agree that it was a night and day comparison to what we saw from him against Chicago.
Yeah, I mean, I think Cole Bishop's done enough. I think he's done enough in practice. The Bills don't seem worried about it. They seem more than willing to play him at any time. He's on the Terrell Bernard. I made that comparison a few weeks ago, and Bobby Babbitt just happened to mention it this week, which was cool. Honestly, I don't have any. He's starting. There's no reason to not start him. He's going to take his lumps. He needs to grow. He could come in and be effective. He was really effective yesterday. I don't care if it was against twos. That's the kind of stuff you're looking for. And that's with him against twos, but with twos. So I don't really mind what he was able to show. And that's without his starting middle linebacker, without Matt Milano, without, even Taylor Rapp. So honestly, that's an impressive start. And that's the kind of thing the Bills have probably seen throughout camp and throughout their own individual practices. So Dan, he's starting day one. This is what you wanted to see. He's on the Terrell Bernard track. I think they're in good shape.
Yeah. So I'm not so much worried about it either because he's wildly effective in the box. Yes. And he's still very good against the run. Like, he is an absolute murderer when it comes into coming downhill and making his tackles. It's probably not a bad idea to have him out there as safety too, especially since we're going to be going up against a team like Baltimore that's more than likely going to start the game off with a heavy dose of Derrick Henry, especially since Lamar Jackson has been on the exact same playing field of lack of reps during the preseason. So that much I feel optimistic. I'm not so much sure, and granted, we're going to have well over 2 weeks of us unpacking this Baltimore matchup, but I'm not so much concerned about Lamar really going out there and being aggressive and trying to stretch the field, at least toward the beginning of the game. So a Bishop should be okay.
Yeah, I mean, the strength on strength. Like, the Bills have always played Lamar Jackson pretty well. The best Lamar Jackson has looked ever against the Bills, in my opinion, was that game we went down there and just didn't play very well.
Last year.
Yeah, last year. Other than that, he's looked pretty poor. He looked poor last year. He had a good fourth quarter, great fourth quarter in the playoffs, but he was down double digits. Outside of that, I don't think he's looked specifically well against the way the fast and aggressive style of the Sean McDermott defense. Bishop matches up well in that matchup, in my opinion, and that's why you got some good versions of him in the playoffs last year. I think he's a good matchup for what they're trying to do. And yes, it's more safety 1, safety 2 now. It's not really free safety, strong safety. But that's only true in cover 2 in certain quarters coverage. That's not true with 1 high. With 1 high, Cole Bishop comes in the box. So if they're playing any type of man, Cole Bishop's in the box. If they're playing any sort of different variation of a defense, it's not your standard cover 2 high shell, there is somewhat of a different responsibility. So honestly, I think Cole Bishop matches up well in certain packages. I just don't see enough pros from any of the other safeties on this roster that you're going to gain early on week 1, let alone by week 17. You give him the start. There's no better time for him to learn about this. But no, I'm pretty excited about the matchup against the Ravens. I think he actually is why they're pushing so hard here, because I think he is a good matchup in the Raven game, specifically maybe over a team that Lions wouldn't be the greatest matchup for Cole Bishop right off the bat.
So one player that really stood out last night, at least I would say that he was probably one of the sweethearts of the game. Many people thought that he had the best game out of anybody out there. It was Deion Walker, right? Yes. What did you see from him? Were you on that same page with everybody else?
Yeah, the hands. It's the hands, the length, the arm length. Obviously we know he's big. He can make moves. He can get double teamed. We know that stuff probably could come. But it's the hand placement, the way he's able to beat blocks and shed blocks, which was really impressive. That's the thing no one knew. That's the thing. If he's hurt, he's not playing well, he's a day 3 pick for a reason. But if he's able to use his hands and come off of blocks, he's a first round pick. So, and we saw that yesterday early on in the game too, not late against backups of backups, against some decent level early 2s of the Buccaneers. So, and we saw it earlier in this preseason. You saw splash plays from Deion Walker. I'm all in on him. I think he takes the job soon.
Yeah. So we're looking at it from this because obviously with Buffalo, what they have to do is get down to 53. But one thing I feel like a lot of us don't ever acknowledge is that a lot of those guys are going to be healthy scratches for the first couple of weeks. Is Deion Walker to you? Is that going to be a guy that you regularly see on the healthy scratch list and for the first half of the season? Or was there enough right in this period where he could actually be getting some rotational reps?
No, he's playing. He's playing week 1. He's definitely in, especially once again against the Ravens. He's playing. There may be other matchups that Bills may seem don't suit him as well. But Falele is a major problem for the Ravens. He's one of their biggest weaknesses. The Bills are going to want to exploit that the best that they can. I think Deion Walker is a huge advantage. He's a better 1 than I thought he'd be. I thought he's going to be a true 3. But the way he's shown his 1 reps, obviously with the size, everyone goes to 1 tech. But the way he wasn't, he's truly was a 3 tech. But the way he's shown to be a 1 tech in this offseason, He's a day one player. He's playing. Will he get 50% of the snaps? Probably not. Will he see 30% of the snaps week one? I think so. He's playing. He's getting a roster spot. He's getting a jersey. I expect him to make a difference in the game early on with TJ Sanders. So
yeah, man. Listen, I am very excited about those two's development as well. So I'd say that it was Cole Bishop, was Deion Walker, was probably the talk of the town as far as standouts for you. But were there any other standouts that maybe not a lot of people were discussing last night that we should know?
Yeah, there were a couple. Like, I thought the Bills' second and even third team defense through most of the game was really good. This is what I expected to see from them this offseason, where I thought the depth was there, and they finally put it together. You're not playing against Brian Daboll, who's the second best odds to get fired. So he's trying to keep a job in the New York media at bay. You're not against Ben Johnson and Caleb Williams. They're trying to prove that that's a great combo, and they're going to be so good that they were playing like it was the Super Bowl. You're in a similar feeling. The Bucs were playing the same way the Bills were, 2s and 3s. It was the same. They're both playoff teams, in my opinion. They're playing this the same way, and the Bills dominated on the road with their 2s and 3s. This is the defense that I expected to see in this preseason. It was really good outside of one drive at the end of the game with true 3s and 4s. But for the majority of the game, they allowed 10 to 13 points. They were up double digits. This is what you were expecting to see from the depth of these teams. But Joe Andreessen and Jimmy Charlo are two guys that you can feel great about in this defense. I think Charlo could have done enough to make a roster spot, even though he probably started as a 90th man just a month ago. So it's tough.
It's wild too, because I tried to put together, and most of the position groups are easy.
Yes.
Wide receiver, not so much. That's still a head scratcher, especially once you put in the maybe Chenault squeezes in, because of his value on special teams.
Yep.
And maybe Elijah Moore is cut, or maybe Curtis Samuel is traded. We're seeing trades all over this morning, by the way, and even yesterday. But then linebacker to me, because you think about it, and is there a world where we go on ahead and we keep 6 linebackers because so you got to think, have Matt Milano, you have Bernard, you have Dorian Locks, plus Joe Andreessen, Shaq Thompson, more than likely.
Mm-hmm.
So seemingly the only path for Chiarlo would be that we roll with 6 linebackers or Shaq Thompson gets cut. What are your thoughts? What are your thoughts there?
I think they roll with 5 linebackers. Jimmy Charlo could be the 5th. You cut Shaq Thompson, and he's a perfect practice squad guy. Practice squad vet who's going to get his decision on where to play in his practice squad, and the Bills could elevate him if they ever need him. Look, Jimmy Charlo's a difference maker on special teams. He really is. That alone is why. I'm not saying that because I think he's going to be a stud in the defensive side. He's going to be a day one special teamer, and they could do the same. They could try to put Charlo, but he goes through waivers. They could try to put him on the practice squad, elevate him early on to put him on the special teams. I think he gets 6 weeks to prove what he's good before the guys start to come back. And then they have to make other roster decisions, but they could go with 6 too and go with Charlo and Shaq Thompson. But one thing to consider when you build a roster, veterans are guaranteed their salary once they're on the week 1 roster. Jimmy Charlo's not a veteran. So in theory, they can move him around the roster. Shaq Thompson would be guaranteed his pay, cut him, put him on the practice squad. That's what him and Yola Foshio will go on the practice squad, in my opinion. Jimmy Charlo is a 5th linebacker. And if you have the rash of injuries, then you maybe elevate Shaq Thompson to the active roster because he's probably going to play on defense. Whereas Jimmy Charlo, he's a day one special teamer. Him and Andreessen are difference makers on that unit.
So say that you're a veteran and you're on the team by week 1, then your salary or your contract is guaranteed.
Correct.
But say that you're still in your rookie period. That's not the case. So
Correct.
We could be looking at an interesting financial move right there is what you're saying.
Correct. Because then you can't move Shaq Thompson. You can move him off the roster, but you're taking cap hits. It's generally not a huge deal because you have to account for the whole salary if you move on from him at some point. Luckily, you hope he would get signed. I mean, there's a lot of roster gymnastics you have to consider once someone's on a week 1 roster. I forgot the terms of service at maybe 4 years. I don't know, 3 to 5. It's somewhere in there you qualify for veteran salary benefit. So that's the benefit. The league says if you play at minimum salary, the team actually gets a reduction of cap space. They're able to take some off. There's a minimum value of that benefit that they get. But also the vets also get guaranteed pay. So I think that will matter when they make the 5th linebacker decision. They could keep 6. That's not crazy with some of the rosters I have built, but because you're going to have to move off from one of them anyways when the 2 guys come off of suspension. So, Dan, I got him going 5, and I got Charlo possibly on the roster, but it's still not crazy that Thompson does make the 5th and final linebacker spot.
Yeah, most definitely do.
I think there's too much buzz about him. I think he got the training camp buzz. He got the Hard Knocks buzz.
Yep.
He's getting the Brian Baldinger buzz. He's getting the social media buzz.
My
team will take a chance on him on their special teams unit, on a team that has a linebacker, 5th or 6th linebacker opening. I do believe he has enough buzz to make a roster, whereas everybody's favorite receiver doesn't always make rosters. I do think I've always said offensive linemen and linebackers do get claimed off waivers.
And I think that's kind of half of the reason why I'm still thinking that Shenault finds his way on this roster due to his special teams contributions. Not because that's a unit that needed to be improved from last year, but we also have a brand new guy calling the shots. Yes. And I think that Sean McDermott really wants to see a vast improvement. And this new guy we brought in does have quite an impressive resume. So I'm almost wondering when it comes into finalizing said roster, if that new special teams coordinator is going to have a bit more say than what we've witnessed in the past.
He 100%. In order to get a guy of his stature and tenure to come here and you know take the position, not that the Bills are a bad team or something, but still like to get him to Buffalo, to agree to have him come out of retirement. He was a head coach. He was an interim head coach in his career. So he does have a lot of say within a roster. And one thing to remember too about Shenault is, you know, 2022, he was with Chris Tabor. So I don't see it ever talked about. So Shenault was on the Panthers in 2022 and 2023. Guess who their special teams coordinator and interim head coach was? Chris Tabor. So he absolutely is going to have say into the final roster spot here. If he wants this to be a receiver, I think they go 6, and it could be Shenault. And if Shavers makes the team, that means he push off Samuel or Elijah Moore. There's no other path because Tabor's going to be able to handpick who he wants. It's Codrington versus Shenault. That is the choice that Chris Tabor is going to be able to choose from. Totally his decision. The Bills, nor Beane, nor McDermott will care. He's going to have the choice to say which way he wants to go on the returner, and then thus on the other special teams unit. So the only say that McDermott could say is like, really could use Codrington for the first couple of weeks at corner, but he's so bad at corner. Him and Hardy were awful. They were the two duds of the corner room, and Dane Jackson stinks too. They were the duds of the cornerback room. So Codrington does not offer anything at the corner room. But if he did win the returner role, Tabor probably wants whoever he perceives to be the best returner. Every time Shenault touches the ball, he brings it to the 40. Every single time.
I know.
I think he did enough because he does present at least a little something in red zone with his speed and red zone and deep down in it for a couple plays a game. So I think that's more than Codrington right there. So
would you see Shenault handling punt returns and kick returns, say that he made the team?
He'd have to. So I think that's the final breaking point. I think they do think Codrington can be the punt returner easily. Yeah. Shenault really hasn't done the punt return side. So they could go Shenault and then go punt return with someone else. That's possible too. Yeah. So it's all how they're going to put this piece together. And is there still a crazy word? Because Brandon Beane keeps talking about how important returns are, especially now with the ball going to 35, that it could be both of them on this roster, because in game they may need to make a switch if something's going on, like just like you would at any other position. Yeah.
And to have an insurance policy or something along those lines.
It's not crazy to assume that they make room, at least for the first 6 weeks. Once again, they're going to have to cut 2 players come week 7 or week 8, because week 7's a bye, so they can take a little bit longer to think about it. They're going to have to make moves somewhere. What is it? Jimmy Charlo makes a roster initially. Is it going to be Codrington and Shenault for special? So they're going to have to make moves somewhere. I think you could see a world where they consider multiple returners in game. But you could also do that from the practice squad. So we'll see what how they figure this thing out.
And funny enough, so I think that like all of these roster decisions are going to be a hell of a lot more like adrenaline packed by week 7 when we see Hoyt and Larry Ogunjobi come back.
Yes.
because
And week 5 with Max Harrison, he's going on the IR, right? Like I just
yeah,
don't see any way he's on the roster. So you have a
yeah,
decision with him in week 5. You just mentioned the 2 suspension moves that you're going to have to
yeah,
make. That's 3 roster spots right there. So Codrington could make it right there alone based on the Max Harrison 4-week IR.
yeah. It's definitely something to keep in mind when we unpack like what we at least think that the 53-man roster is going to look like on week 1. But we could see quite a few moves, a lot of shocking moves as well, of players being cut that we maybe didn't think would be cut, like once Hoyt and Ogunjobi does come back. But I did kind of want to shift over to the cornerback room side of things. What do you think is going on with Tre'Davious White, right? Because for me, so I'm looking at it that if Tre'Davious White's injury was that bad, right, probably wouldn't have put Dane Jackson out there so long, like you said in the Bills roundtable last week. We saw him for like half the game.
Or more. He was playing into the 4th quarter.
Yeah, more. Yeah. So virtually the entire damn game.
Which is done, which means you're cut, in my opinion.
Yeah. So one would assume, and this is us grasping at straws, obviously, that the team is relatively confident that Trey White probably should be okay. And this is more like a game planning play right against Baltimore to keep them guessing at who's going to be CB2 rolling into week 1. And thoughts on that?
The MRI was interesting where they're still reading the results. You get results immediately from an MRI, especially in the sports field. Like, yeah, if you're looking at other crazy oncology or other things, yeah, they want like extra time to read that. But you're talking about sports injuries. They know there might have been swelling present in the ankle. I mean, lower leg means ankle, right? Like, what does that mean if you're taking an MRI on the lower leg? You know, if you're not talking knee, you're talking something back there. Look, I think that there's some ankle ligament damage possibly. They're probably really trying to nitty gritty down to the weeks. That's really what they're doing. They're saying it says 1, 2, or 3 or 4 weeks. And they're probably really with cuts tomorrow or Tuesday. They're really trying to figure out the best course of this. And I don't care if Trey White's hurt or not. They must be thinking Dane Jackson's a lock for the practice squad, in my opinion, because he wouldn't be playing late in the 4th quarter, Trey White hurt or not. I think Dorian Strong, maybe they've done it before with Christian Benford. Yeah. From people assuming having a really good spring to really not doing much in the summer. Some people say maybe he gets cut. I think he could start day 1. He had the first team reps with Cole Bishop to start this game. He got called on a ticky-tack holding, but I thought he had really good coverage, sticky coverage. I think that he could earn, if Trey's down, I think that he could earn the week 1 starting corner spot, boundary corner spot, in a very similar fashion to Christian Benford just 3 years ago. So I think that there's some things to be said about what they're thinking about with Dorian Strong. They tried Daquan Hardy in the slot. He stinks. Codrington's not a boundary corner. He's not very good. I think that it's Dorian Strong's job. So outside of a big move, I think it's Dorian Strong's job to start at corner in week 1. And obviously
say that Trey can come.
Yeah, obviously based on Trey's injury.
Dorian Strong rolling out there week 1.
Ingram was coming in for him. That was the tell. So Strong is above Jamarcus Ingram. He's above everybody else. If Trey can go, I truthfully think that Dorian Strong is a week 1 starter.
Interesting. Very interesting, man. You know what? It's crazy how they've done this to us twice in the past 2 months about just making us sit at the edge of our seat waiting for an injury update. And so they did it with Maxwell Hairston, which is the longest 36 hours I think I've had in quite some time. And now they're doing it with Tre'Davious White. I don't know. For some reason, it just smells like I think we're going to slow walk this so we don't give Baltimore any intel. And probably at least go out there and make them guess like during. So
the MRI stuff made it a little bit more than gamesmanship to me. So like I really do think there's some eval there on the weeks that he'll need, because there's probably people saying he's probably ready soon, and then there's probably people saying he probably needs 3 weeks. So I'm assuming that's why they keep kind of dissecting. Maybe after the swelling went down, we talking 0 to 2 weeks, or we talking 3 to 4, and that's they really do need to make that decision probably earlier than they would normally. They need to make that decision on Tuesday, how long they think that thing's going to be. So I think there is, because of the roster cuts, I do think there is some legitimacy to how they're evaluating the injury.
My God. All right. So now
maybe you call Rasul Douglas. I don't know.
Yeah. Yeah. Just go ahead and bring back some familiarity if you have to. It's not going to hurt us rolling with him for a couple of games. You know what I mean? Especially after the Baltimore game, because I'm not sure about you, but I feel very confident against Justin Fields on week 2.
Yeah.
Feel very confident.
Tua.
So against Tua. Yeah. I feel very confident against the Saints. It really is, man. It really, really is. I heard that their ones just looked awful into this past week.
I think he has plus 200 to be fired, Mike McDaniel. He's the number 1 on the list.
Yeah, I'd say midway through the season, if they're smart, just go on ahead and just accept everything.
It's not great. I don't know what's going on with Tyreek Hill, if he plays, when he plays, if he wants to get traded. I don't know what's going on with him. Their offense looks like a mess. Somehow their defense, from what I've been reading, looks decent. But I always hear that, though. Yeah. So we'll see how all that turns out. The corner room's not good, in my opinion, but I guess no one's is. I don't think the Ravens is particularly good. I don't think ours is in great shape.
Yeah.
But we have a corner 1, though. That is the ultimate thing that we all forget about when we evaluate this DB room, is we have a corner 1 that is statistically top 3 in the NFL in major advanced analytics. So we have that. That's not like we have a guard and then Taron Johnson, who is a stud slot corner. So are we fishing around for a CB2? I guess, but we have a 1 and a 3 locked down. So the best slot receivers and the number 1 receivers are all being locked up. So if teams go 3 deep at receiver, they'll cause us problems, but they will cause every team problems if they go 3 deep at real receivers. Tampa is a team that with Baker that truly could cause some issues with the receiver room, but there's not many that can. So I mean, ultimately
the Cincinnati Bengals, but hopefully Max Harrison will be good.
Sure. Yeah. Since he has 2 studs, but I still don't overly care about their third. So they can still do some things to try to mitigate that. I mean, since these receivers always do good against the Bills. But other than a couple of those teams, that's how they're built, though. Since he's built with that in mind, their defense stinks. They're letting up 40 points to third stringers. So I don't know what Cincinnati's going to do, but Dan, I'm not overly worried about CB2. I want to see Dorian Strong. These are the moments you get drafted for. We talk about the draft ad nauseum all season. Mm-hmm. Draft a guy, play him until Trey is back or Max is back. Let's see him. And if he's terrible, fine. Then you play Jamarcus Ingram or Dane Jackson anyways. Yeah. So let's give him 4 games, 2 to 4 games, 2 to 3 games. If he's good, then he may keep the job. If he's bad, then we put Max Harrison right in. So
it's not going to hurt us, ladies and gentlemen. No, it's not going to hurt us. Damn, man. You know what? I am pumped for this season. I really, really am, man. I love how our schedule is lined up for us. Of course, after this big test on week 1.
Love it.
But I feel like we need to make a transition because this is probably the most heavily debated room going into Tuesday, and that's the wide receiver room. So I'm going to go on ahead and I'm going to give you my hot take on the room, and then I would love to hear yours. But I feel like we can get the obviouses out of the way. We have Shakir, we have Keon Coleman, we have Joshua Palmer as 1, 2, and 3. And then I think it's going to be Curtis Samuel. And then I think it's going to be Laviska Shenault. And I think it's going to be Shavers. And I think Elijah Moore is going to be released.
So you got more on the odd. Okay.
Yeah. That's me.
Okay. You. It's not far. I mean, it's
not. Yeah. It's not crazy.
The funny part is I have the same 5. I just I think I have what they were trying to do with Elijah Moore over Samuel. That's the only difference that I have of my rosters. It could go either way, though. I mean, they need to find a trade partner for Samuel, or anything I've said about Samuel doesn't work, because part of the reason you're trading Samuel is to get a huge salary benefit. And you have to trade him to get that salary benefit. So with that salary benefit, though, Dan, they don't have to make any other moves. So it isn't just is Moore better than Samuel, because that kind of is the battle right now, in my opinion.
Yeah.
Because even Shenault has nothing to do with that battle. So ultimately, the salary benefits, if they're not going to get it, maybe he does make it. Your roster, your moves would be correct. But if they do get it, I still think they would prefer to not have to extend out anybody or restructure in order to free up some in-season cap money or trade deadline cap money. They would probably prefer to just trade Samuel. And the difference between him and Moore may be here or here. So that's kind of where I'm thinking about how they position it. So I got the same room as you, actually. So I think Shenault could sneak on the roster.
Yeah.
So we are in agreement there, but I just have more over Samuel. But it could really go either way. Or they could really keep both and dish to Shenault. They could do that, I guess. That is possible. That is not a question.
Or there could be a world where Shavers and gets dished again.
The world exists that most people don't want to address, but it certainly existed a week ago, and it exists today, even with the one-handed grab.
Yeah. And folks, trust me, I am rooting for it. All right.
Same.
Like he has done everything that he possibly could, but unfortunately, I think that still is a play for this team.
That would take both keeping Samuel and Moore, and then probably Shenault. So it would take some weird combo of players, or like somehow KJ Hamler or something.
So that would be a day where I would not log on to X, bro. And so I would not log on to X. Like that would be a toxic pool for like 48 hours.
Yeah,
for sure.
Like we cut Prime T Higgins.
Yeah. Yeah. Most definitely. I'm trying to think of anything else that could be a hot take with the offensive line room. You have Deion, you have all the starters here, obviously. You have Ryan Vandermark, Alec Anderson, Cedric Van Pran will be added right to the pup lists, likely. Grable, Lunt. Does that sound about right to you, or so do you see somebody else sneaking on from the?
That sounds right. Yeah, I have the same line as you do. With Van Pran Granger going to the PUP, pretty much confirmed. I got the same. I think Kendrick Green's the only outside guy who they do like. They're probably hoping he's a practice squad guy, but they're going to have to. That's really the only decision that they're going to make is like, I'd like to have Kendrick Green on the roster. He has a bunch of starts. He's a really good reserve guard. I thought he's had some decent special preseason moments. That's the only decision they'll have to make, like making sure he can go to the squad, practice squad.
Yeah. So I really wasn't paying attention a lot to Landon Jackson. And so I did see a couple of tweets where they ultimately ended up having him as a trend down last night. I'm not sure if that was just somebody trolling. Did you notice anything from Landon last night?
I thought he was actually one of the good players against the Bears of all the players. Like there was not many trending up. So I thought he was trending up. And yesterday I would call it a scratch. I didn't really notice him negatively too much. Ultimately he did his job. I thought I saw a couple good run fits he had. So I wouldn't give him I think down is like just people because he didn't get a sack. So people are like, he did nothing. So sometimes, unless you watch the film, I'm sorry. I don't know that you can to defensive linemen too. I don't know that you can give corners, receivers are really the only ones you can immediately pop. Can you give on an edge? You're just assuming he got 1 or 2 sacks. So that's not realistic.
So we could probably agree though that he's more than likely going to be a healthy scratch on week 1.
I think.
Right. Yeah.
That's borderline because that's him or Solomon. So
he's solid against the run though. I will give him that.
Yeah. 50-50 on that one.
Yeah. So maybe that's like a strategic move from Buffalo where they're just like, we'll use him like a little bit, especially on rundowns perhaps.
Right.
But it's, dude, like, you know what? And so I know that it's literally 2 weeks away. Exactly. Yep. Right. Like
they have 2 weeks to make that decision. I don't think Solomon's been very good either though. So that's the decision. Are they going to go Solomon? Or are they going to go Landon on their game day active roster? That's going to be the final decision.
So I know that we have 2 weeks to discuss this, right? And like we're hearing news about Lamar Jackson. He like had his foot stepped on and stuff. He's supposed to practice tomorrow. We'll see. But some early reactions for you because last year you were one of the few people on the internet that predicted the Buffalo Bills were going to lose against Baltimore last year, like during that like regular season era. Are you kind of feeling the same way about this matchup, or is it still too early for you?
I thought that they I mentioned this a couple times. They almost started 0-3 with an awful performance, basically for 11 quarters, and then had a really good fourth to beat Dallas. And I thought they were coming off of that, and I felt like they needed the game against the Bills at home Sunday night. It was pretty much like entrenched. We had already had some big wins. I actually kind of feel differently. I think they start slow. Them and the Bengals just historically have started slow lately. I need to see his health. If he's even hit up at all, that limits everything that he does. Like I have to, especially where he got stepped on. It's So we'll talk about that on the roundtable on how I feel this year on this, but I'm not as confident going in that they're going to need this victory. The Bills are home this time. It's kind of reverse. I'm leaning the other way this season, but we'll see how we feel. I got to see how these rosters and Lamar's health and a couple of these things develop over the next. We'll tackle it hard in 2 weeks on before the game on our roundtable.
Yeah. Once we get there, and folks, he is talking about a brand new channel that myself and Kevin and Zbot and Jake from Bill's Bunker are a part of. It's called the Bills Roundtable, folks. We are live Mondays and Thursdays at 5 p.m. EST, breaking down all the news that comes out of the Buffalo Bills front office and the news cycle. Highly recommend that you guys go give us a follow, subscribe to that channel, and turn on bell notifications. A lot of you have been tuning in live, and we really appreciate that. So make sure you come look us up, and hopefully we'll be able to crack about 1,000 subscribers by
we're getting up there.
Week 1. Yeah, dude, we are, man. I'm going to do a better job about streaming right beforehand so I can funnel the cavalry over on Mondays and Thursdays, because there's definitely a lot of things to discuss. Guys, right before we let you go, I need to give a giant shout out to RotoWire Fantasy, the #1 NFL fantasy football draft kit on the market today. I had my actual fantasy football draft yesterday, and RotoWire was an absolute delight, pointing me in all of the moves that I should make based off of the customized draft plan I told it. It's a fantastic platform. It gives you some of the most advanced analytics that you need to know about any player you are targeting at any given point during your fantasy football draft. Highly recommend you go check them out. Link is in description, and use my code Dan for 15% off. It's great for waiver wire stuff. Hold up real fast. Sorry about that, Kev. I hired a neighborhood kid to mow my grass, right? And I've been trying to go on ahead and like track him down. I thought it'd be like a little weird if I went on ahead and I just knocked on his door and asked his parents where Jack was. But like, what's this like 35-year-old man looking for my son for? But thankfully, he's starting, and I appreciate it.
Good for him.
That's what I'm talking about. You a fantasy football guy?
Big fantasy. I love RotoWire. Big fantasy football guy.
Oh, nice. You've been messing around with it?
Yeah, I think it's cool. It's a nice platform.
Yeah, man. That's what I'm talking about. When's your draft, by the way?
I have a couple. I have one coming up where they're going to pick a date, and mine is always one big one is always one day before kickoff. So Wednesday, the 4th or 5th or whatever that is.
Smart.
Right before. Literally, we do 24 before kickoff. So that one's kind of fun to like wait to the last minute and really go accordingly. That is a dynasty auction league.
Really?
So that's super different rules. Like, it's crazy the way that we do it.
So I did it with a lot of like my followers and stuff last year. And like I was in like 3 leagues, and then I finished in the basement, like right with my main league with all of my friends. And that has like a lot of bragging rights. So I told myself, I was just like, I can't be distracted anymore. I have to just do one this year. And for the sake of my personal league, and then maybe next year I'll go on ahead and I'll revamp the one with the followers and stuff. But I'm hyper competitive, man. We'll see what's going on. It is a 12-man league. I haven't done Dynasty yet. I feel like I need to. And so I feel like I need to
start up like a roundtable Dynasty or something.
That's actually a brilliant idea.
Yep.
I feel like that's actually a brilliant
idea. Sponsored by RotoWire. I think it's a good idea.
Sponsored by RotoWire, man. We're going to have to see. But folks, thank you so much for tuning in to another edition of the Don Mafia Report, an impromptu episode. I will be live back at the regularly scheduled time tomorrow morning, unpacking hopefully an update on Tre'Davious White, maybe unpacking some of the recent cuts that could happen from now until tomorrow morning, and many other things. Ravens week is almost here, folks, the regular season. It's no more preseason talk. As soon as when the 53-man roster is solidified, it is full systems go. Kev, and do you have anything to say to the audience before we let them go?
Excited for our roster discussion tomorrow on the roundtable, so check us out live tomorrow, 5 o'clock. Other than that, we'll kind of compile some more thoughts and see what the roster looks like and start talking Ravens as soon as probably the Thursday show. So pretty excited about what's on the fold.
Let's get it going. Folks, we appreciate you, and I will see you bright and early tomorrow morning at 10 a.m. EST. Peace.